meeting to order. So if you wanted to start recording.
Yep, all set.
Okay, thanks. This is the legal notice for the public hearing. The electors and citizens qualified to vote in the town meetings of the town of Ashford, Connecticut are hereby notified and warned that a public hearing will be held virtually on Monday, April 26th at 7 p.m. That's 2021. The public hearing will be for the purposes of receiving information regarding the proposed fiscal year 2021-2022 town budgets. Copies of the proposed budgets can be obtained on the Town of Ashford, Connecticut website or picked up outside the town office building during business hours. So that's what this meeting is about. I want to thank everyone for attending this meeting. I think it's good to see a fairly robust turnout. That's nice. I'd also like to very much welcome Paul Varga to our board. Just so the other board members know, Paul was sworn in right after the meeting. So he is officially a member of our board. So congratulations to us and thank you, Paul. I'd also like to thank the Board of Education, the Board of Selectmen, and also the Board of Finance members. There are also some other people that I think specifically should be pointed out. I sort of say this every year, but I really mean it, and I'm hoping that all of you recognize the importance of the town employees that we have and the hard work that they do. I'm going to just name a few who specifically help me and our board do the things that we need to do. Laura Andert, Karen Zulik, Linda Gagney, Kara Fishman, Sherry Much, and I'd like to especially thank Christine Abakoff and especially Cheryl Baker. These folks all work really hard to hopefully help me not embarrass myself and keep our board as informed as possible. I really have very heartfelt thank you for all of those folks. I think the Board of Education and the Board of Selectmen have hard tasks in front of them. I think they meet them with grace. And so anyway, I just want to point out there's a whole group of people that really work hard to sort of help our town function. So onto the budgets. There are four major elements to our town budget. There's the general government budget, there's the Ashford Board of Education budget, and there's Region 19 budget, and there's the capital improvement budget. Those four budgets are the lion's share of what we concern ourselves with and what we vote on. The general government budget this year has increased about 2.57%. It's $3,524,795 this year. That's an $88,213 increase. And that represents about 2.57 increase over last year's general government budget. Most of that is on the backs of wages and benefits. Also, the other thing I want to point out, I think it's important for people to recognize, is that we also have the transfer station recycling costs continue to be a moving expense for us. Those, of course, were things that we used to get paid for. Now we have to pay to get rid of them. So those are the major items that affected the general government budget. The Ashford Board of Education They requested $8,602 million. And that's an increase of 231,709, which is a 2.98% increase over their last year's budget. Again, the lion's share of that increase is wages and benefits. I'm going to come back to have the chair of the Board of Ed maybe speak to their budget in a minute. But one of the things I wanted to point out, and I think this is really important for all of us in this meeting and throughout the town to recognize, Region 19, our portion of Region 19 is 3,511,490. That is a reduction of $390,042. That's about a 10% decrease over last year. That's a big deal. And I think what is really important for all of us to understand is that's based on proportion of students. So we are one of 3 towns, and we pay on the total budget, which is 22 million something or other here, $22,322,252, depending on which number you read. And our portion is this 3,511,000. Our student population went down as a percentage of the overall population. So our portion of that 22 million has gone down 390,000. That's significant. What we need to understand is that next year, when you look at Region 19's budget, they do a very good job in their budget. On page 12, they do projections of student population. Next year, fiscal year 2022-23, our proportion of students are going to go right back up to where they were last year. So what that means is this $390,000 that we are saving this year is going to be right back on the table that following year if we do nothing. So it's really important for all of us to understand that if the following year's budget, even if we went up not a dollar anywhere, we are going to increase our mill rate at least 1.3%. So it's really important to understand why that is, and it has to do with our student population. So this is something I think we really need to make sure everybody understands and continues to keep in mind. The fourth part of our budget is the capital improvement budget. This year, it's being proposed at $955,045. That's a $440,000, $795 increase. One of the things to understand with the capital improvement budget is that it does not affect our mill rate. Most of the funding for the capital improvement budget comes from outside sources, state funding, etc. The part that we fund is through CNR capital non-recurring fund, and we're kicking in, I have to look up the number, it's about 200 and something here. $295,737. So that's the amount that the Ashford tax base is, let's say, kicking in to that 955,000. There's a lot of detail in the public hearing budget book that details all of the funding. I think if anybody wants more understanding, that booklet that we put out has a variety of detail on where funding, and also, you know, what things we're hoping to spend on with the capital budget. Just as a few examples, there's a $275,000 grant from the DECD that will be used to offset the cost of the Cadle Rock property remediation. There's a steep grant of $125,000 for the Pompey Hollow Park repair project. The Ashford Unexpended Fund will contribute about $62,000 for a variety of repairs to the heating system and some roof replacement planning. So those are just some of the few items that are in the capital budget. You know, there's many more details within the document, if anybody's interested. John Lippert, if you would like to speak at all to your the Board of Education budget, now would be a good time.
Thanks, Chuck. I don't want to say very much because it was a relatively simple year numerically, a very complicated year in reality, but when it comes down to it, as far as the budget is concerned, as you indicated, the vast majority of increase is due to increase in salaries and benefits, which are primarily by prior agreement with unions. We knew from the start that it would be a difficult year all around. Thinking a lot about people in town who have uncertain income for the past year and the upcoming time period, caused us to take the approach that this was not the time to do anything extra or fancy or additional. So we kept it simple. The Board of Finance was very understanding about our approach and appreciative of the work that our succession of
Mama like Blue Beagle.
Our succession of business managers performed. That was a challenging aspect to the last year, but we kind of lucked out in a way with an interim business manager that was outstanding, and although she was only there for 7 months, a business manager that really helped get things in order and prepare us for the budget. In the end, it was a congenial process with the Board of Finance, and I appreciate their comments and suggestions throughout the process. Is there anything specific that you're hoping to hear, Chuck, or does that satisfy?
Yep, I was just looking to see your thoughts, and that's good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Catherine, do you have any thoughts that you want to convey to the public concerning the general government budget?
Yes. So the general government budget definitely has gone up a little bit. And it's really that we are trying to address issues that have not been addressed before. We've had to cinch our belts over the last few years in particular. And we have some repairs that are needed here. Some other items. Most of this is related to that, to someone speaking. We also have a $35,000 increase in estimate for the transfer station for our, if you will, our recycling costs or trash costs. And we're looking at where we can improve with that, but that's the truth. I mean, that's where it is. And general, we have a contract that we're negotiating with the union and making our plans for that as well. So, overall, and I'm just looking for the amount off the top of my head. It is an increase of $88,213. We also have to pay for a cybersecurity policy that we didn't have to pay for before because we were getting that for free. And those days are gone. They're not giving it for free to anybody. Any questions?
That's good, Catherine. Thank you. So given all that, what I wanted to talk to next was the mill rate. If the budget's passed as we've just presented, the mill rate will be 36.369, which is a decrease of 0.467 from last year. And that's with 1 mill equaling $301,877. And this reduction is due to an increase in our grand list, as well as clearly Region 19's budget. So those two things in concert have created an opportunity for our mill rate to go down. So I think that's about what I wanted to talk about to the general public about this particular budget. And what I would like to do next is ask if there's any questions from the public specifically that we can answer. Wow, I hope everybody doesn't clamor to the front of the line all at once. If there are no questions, this is going to go to town meeting. We will have a special meeting right after this public hearing. And it is expected that this will go to town meeting on May 11th. And then ultimately to referendum on May 25th. One of the things I did want to mention is that on May 25th, the referendum will be held from noon till 8. So it is not from 6 in the morning. It's from noon till 8. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of that's at this particular meeting and can help fellow citizens understand that. Anything else? Any other questions?
Hi, Chuck. It's Jeff Silversmith. I have a question regarding the mill rates. Briefly, and obviously a decrease always feels good, but in trying to look ahead, what's the board's feeling on having a decrease this year and the likelihood of everyone's gloom and doom, a significant increase for next year as opposed to maybe a flat this year?
It's a good question, Jeff. I think the board, I looked, so as the chair, I looked into making sure, first off, that we could, if we opted to, have a contingency fund specifically to help mitigate an increase in the following budget year. And we can legally do that. I spoke to our accountant and the town's accounting agency, and we know how to do that if we chose to. The board did contemplate this, and I think the overall feeling was that because certain members of our community have really been hit hard economically, we decided that we should allow this decrease to be, at least if nothing else, a symbolic acknowledgement of that hardship. It was not a decision that was come to easily. There was also a faction on the board. I don't disagree with this particular sentiment, but there was a faction on the board that also spoke to wondering if, you know, and I mean this in a broad sense, government can be more responsible with people's money than the people themselves. And it was decided that we were going to put faith in the people to be able to manage their own funds and be able to be rational in the next year when realities hit. So that was sort of the process we went through. We did not have a formal vote, but it was a general consensus that we should let the mill rate land where it lands, and that the following subsequent year budget, we're all going to just hopefully count on people remembering this conversation.
You know, Chuck, thank you. You had me a contingency plan for next year. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions? I think we should then adjourn the public hearing. I want to thank everyone for being here. And then we will open the special meeting. Mike, how should we do that? Should we wait a minute or two?
If you want to adjourn, I'll pause the recording, and then when you're ready to start it up again, I'll hit record again.
So I should have a formal motion to adjourn?
I think it helps create a separation for the purposes of the record, yeah.
Okay, I need somebody to motion to adjourn.
That's Janet Bellamy. I'll move we adjourn.
Thanks, Janet. Do I have a second?
John
Second,
Kopak.
Judy Austin.
John Kopak, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Aye. I think everybody's in agreement. I think that's enough ayes. Anybody opposed? Excellent. All right, we'll adjourn to the special meeting. Okay,
All set.
thank you. I'm going to call the special meeting to order. Let me find a pen here or something to write with. At 7:28. I'm going to do a roll call just so I know who's here from Board of Finance. So there's myself,
Angie DeSanto, Judy
Angie,
Austin,
Judy,
Jesse Vernon.
Jesse,
John Kopak.
John, thank you.
Butch
are you still
Simpson.
here?
Yeah, you hear me?
Yep. Okay, Butch.
Okay.
Is Esther here? And Paul, you're here.
I am.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And I'm here as well, Catherine.
And Catherine, yep. So we have me.
what about Garth?
Who was that?
Garth?
Oh, is Garth here? Okay, so we're missing Garth. So we need to seat an alternate. I'm going to seat Paul Varga for Garth Bean. Butch, the only reason I'm seating Paul is because he's been to a whole bunch of our meetings, and so he may be slightly more up to date than you are right at the moment.
I completely agree with you, okay? 'Cause
Okay.
I've gone through living heck with this 19.
All right,
I
thanks,
hope I'm
Butch.
on the end of getting better.
All New business. Any budget adjustments that we want to discuss? I did send out motions to folks. So I suppose what we should do is make a motion to approve an appropriation of $3,524,795, and that for the general government budget for fiscal year 2021-2022 to be presented at the town annual meeting, and then we would have a discussion if we wanted to change that. So I need somebody to make a motion.
I'll motion. Chuck, Judy Austin.
Okay, Judy, thank you.
Angie DeSanto, whoops,
Thanks, Angie.
Angie seconds.
Yep. All right. Are we all comfortable with the general government budget as it's been proposed, and we want to move forward with it as it's been proposed?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Paul?
Well, I think the public didn't say anything, so I think they seem to be happy, right?
Yep.
And Jeff Silversmith brought up the contingency idea and nobody said anything. And I think the board knows how I feel about that, but the budget itself, the public had their opportunity and they seem to be happy with it. So.
Yeah, Paul, can you reiterate your thinking? I was left with mixed message from you as far as the contingency. I don't think we're going to do it, but I would be curious as to your thinking.
Yeah, that's fine. I think that given the small difference in the mill rate from at a 0.47, if I wrote it down right, or
Roughly, yep.
Some less than half, that having that, leaving the mill rate flat and taking that money and setting it aside and it's earmarked for next year's offset. I agree with John and I think it was Jesse who said that, the government doesn't generally do better with other people's money. But at the same time, with everything going on, I think that a large increase next year is going to be even worse. And I think people will forget the conversation they heard tonight, just because I know how people are.
Yep, I do too.
So I mean, if it were up to me entirely, there'd be other things in the budget, but that's long since passed. So, but with that one thing, that I think it's a good opportunity, and it's something too that even if you don't do it this year, it's an opportunity that we know we can do in the future.
I agree. Yep.
I didn't even know. I was actually surprised to find out when you found out that we could do it. So I just think with it, I think I did the math out and it's not that much for the average household. Obviously for people who have a large business or like me who have a large property and business, it's a different effect, but it just seems to be something that you could use to help next year. So I don't think you're going to have obviously not a lot of pushback this year because you talked about a decrease. So people are happy.
Right. Yep. All right. So
Chuck,
yes, Catherine.
there's something to be said for pay as you go, which is everybody is experiencing it. I love the idea of having money set aside, but the reality is that the way I think we should be taxing people is as the need is, not necessarily taking their money early from them, just to make it easier to pass a budget next year. So that's my personal thinking.
Yeah, I agree with you, Catherine. And the other thing I would add to all of this conversation is what we don't have a handle on is what kind of funding we're going to have.
Right.
There's a lot of money being pushed into the system right now from the federal government to the state. Whether Ashford's going to be able to benefit from that, we just don't know right now. So that's the other that's the other thing that gives me pause to do something, with a contingency. So, all right. So I think what I'm landing on is we're comfortable then voting on a motion brought by Judy Austin and seconded by Angie DeSanto to approve an appropriation of $3,524,795 for the general government budget for fiscal year 2021-2022 to be presented at the town annual meeting.
I love you too.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? Thank you. Motion passes. The second motion would be to approve an appropriation of $8,602,000. $8 million. I don't even know how to say this. $8,602,000 for the Ashford Board of Education budget for fiscal year 2021-2022 to be presented at the town annual meeting. I need somebody to make the motion and somebody to second.
Motion, Judy Austin.
Thanks, Judy.
Jesse Burnham, second. And just to clarify that there's 3 zeros before the 602.
Correct. Yeah, so suddenly I don't know how to say that number.
Great.
Any discussion on the Board of Education's budget? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? Thank you. Motion passes. The third motion is to approve an appropriation of $3,511,490 for Ashford share of Region School District 19's budget for fiscal year 2021-2022 to be presented at the town annual meeting. I'll need somebody to make the motion and a second.
Jesse Burnham, so moved.
Thanks, Jesse.
Angie
Judy
DeSanto, second.
Thanks, Angie. Any discussion? Is there anybody that's unclear as to why their budget went down this year? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Anyone abstain?
Chuck,
Motion passes. Thank you.
Chuck,
Yes.
I only heard 2 people voting for it. I don't think you can pass it with just 2 votes.
I think basically everybody weighed in. So Angie was a yes, Judy was a yes, Paul was a
I
yes.
didn't hear that.
Yep.
That's
John
why I'm only
Kopak.
saying is because I didn't hear. Only heard 2. And if you say that other people voted, I'm satisfied.
Okay. Yep. I think it passed actually unanimously.
I believe that, but I didn't hear that. Okay.
Yep. You want me to have a vote again, Butch?
No. I'm just. You answered my question. Okay.
Okay, very good.
I
Thank
believe
you.
you. I'm not in due to try to get into a tussle over it. I just wanted to make sure that people had voted, and for one reason or another, I didn't hear them.
Yep, no worries. Thank you. The next motion is to approve an appropriation of $955,045 for the capital improvement budget for fiscal year 2021-2022 to be presented at the town annual meeting. I need somebody to make the motion and somebody to second.
Make the motion, Chuck. Paul Varga.
Paul, thank you.
John Kopak, second.
John, thank you. Any discussion? All right, so this time we're going to vote with a lot of clarity. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I can't tell this time how many people voted, okay? But I'm
All right, so
I'm not disputing anything, okay?
yeah, no worries, Butch. So I'm going to have Angie say yes.
Yes. Angie
Judy?
Santo.
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
myself, yes. And who else do I have here?
Jesse.
Jesse
Jesse.
Burnham. Yes.
All right. Anyone oppose? Abstain? Motion passes. Thank you. All right. The last motion would be to recommend that the Board of Selectmen schedule an annual meeting adjourning to referendum for consideration of the 2021-2022 proposed budgets. I think this is more of a formality type of motion, but we still need to do it.
Jesse Burnham, so moved.
Jesse, thank you.
Second, Angie DeSanto.
Angie, thank you. All in favor?
Judy
Aye.
Austin, aye.
Aye.
I heard 5 of them, Butch.
Okay. I know I heard more than one, okay?
All right. Anybody opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. Thank you. And then the last motion would be to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, that's Judy.
Yes.
Second, Paul Varga.
Second. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 That was 6 emphatic yeses right away. Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. Thank you all.
Thank you for all your work on this.
Yes.
Thank you, Chuck.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thanks,
You guys
Chuck.
have a good evening.
Have a good night.
Night, folks.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Mike.
Good night, everybody.